Thank you for watching another Providing Resources for Emergency Preparedness YouTube video. This video is a quick email response of a question I receive constantly via email. People are very interested to know how I got into food storage and emergency preparedness. This is a short story. I got into food storage and emergency preparedness about 2.5 years ago. I was introduced to it by a friend who is a Mormon, a part of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, but I had never known that about her prior to visiting her home and seeing her food storage. This good friend, great friend, I asked her about her food storage. I wanted to know why she had so much food stored and, what was the deal with it. So she began to explain to me that her church teaches the principles of storing food and preparedness. But she quickly got away from that. For her, it wasn't so much about the Mormon church. She wanted to educate me on the economy, the U.S. economy, and where she saw it going. So, she began to talk to me and, and state her case basically. And I found this friend to be very credible because I've known her for a while and she's never told me anything that wasn't credible or in my best interest. So I looked at her as a friend and I said, there might be something to what she's saying. So like everything, I want to find out everything I do, I want to find out for myself. It's true, but back 2.5 years ago, it wasn't mainstream at all to be a prepper, to have a family emergency preparedness plan. So I came home and I did my research and I started looking up the suggestions that were made by my friend. So as I researched, I found that what she said made sense. So it was at that point 2.5 years ago that I started my personal family emergency preparedness plan. And one of the first things I did was get a 72-hour kit, start building my water supply, and start building my food storage. And it wasn't something that I did overnight. It was something that I accumulated over the course of 2.5 years. So that's how I got started in emergency preparedness in the food storage area. But what I also found was a lot of the things that are required for emergency preparedness and food storage I was already doing anyway. So that was a blessing to me that I was already halfway there. I just needed my friend's guidance to show me the rest of the way. So 4 months ago I started PREP. PREP is a recent, very new business. And I started PREP on the principles that I wanted to teach other families how to establish their family emergency preparedness plan, but do it in a way that was financially affordable to families. I wanted to teach families that you can establish your family emergency preparedness plan and save money at the same time. So basically, that's what PREP is all about. PREP is all about your family emergency preparedness plan and saving money. So those two principles seem to be very appealing to most everyday people. So PREP has 3 basic components. PREP has emergency planning, strategic coupon workshops, and basic baking workshops. So I'll start with the emergency planning. As I said, when I first started my emergency plan, I was very overwhelmed. I found that there were many websites and blogs and trade shows and just an overwhelming amount of information available to those who wanted to start their food storage, their emergency preparedness plan, purchase a 72-hour kit. So in the process of doing this, I was overwhelmed, but I did try a lot of products. I tried different products from different companies, and I found that all the food was nasty until I came upon Thrive. When I cook with something, I want it to taste good. When I serve my family something, I want it to taste good. I want it to be delicious. And it wasn't until I got to Thrive long-term food storage products that I found exactly what I was looking for. The food was tasty. I could incorporate it into my everyday cooking, and I do so. So that was wonderful. So I signed up to become an independent Thrive Shelf Reliant consultant because it was something that um, I was already purchasing, and I was familiar with the product, and it was something I served my family. I wouldn't want to sell to you something that I wouldn't feed to my family every day. So the more I learned about Thrive, I thought Thrive was just food storage, but then I found out they had these fabulous food rotation systems, and they had emergency preparedness supplies at affordable prices and quality emergency preparedness supplies at affordable prices. So I signed up to become a independent shelf-reliant consultant, and now I can sell those products to you at affordable prices. The second component of PrEP is the strategic coupon shopping workshops. Now, I've been using coupons and shopping with coupons since 1995 when my daughter was born. In 1995, I was a young mother. I was 24 years old, and I was working for the state of Wisconsin, but the income I was making working for the state was not enough to cover me, so I had to make cuts to the budget. So one of the things I did was cut the food budget because that was, to me, the third highest bill after rent and utilities. So after I cut the food budget, I started using coupons, and I noticed that I could save a lot of money on my groceries, on my personal supplies. And then the more I got into coupon using, I found that it just wasn't coupons, wasn't just for groceries and personal products. There was coupons for everything I wanted to purchase. And then I began that quest. And I did that long before TLC launched this extreme coupon show, which I'm not a fan of because it really portrays couponers in a negative way, that we're all hoarders, that we all go out and buy 1,500 tubes of toothpaste, which I think is totally unnecessary. And I preach that on my registration page for the PrEP coupon workshops. If you want to learn extreme coupon shopping, my strategic coupon workshop class is not the class for you. I teach practical, everyday coupon workshops to be a blessing to your family budget, not to cause you to become a hoarder and have tons of stuff in your house that you're not going to use. So the third component of PrEP is basic baking workshops. And I started teaching basic baking workshops last year because I found that a lot of people really wanted to know how to bake bread from scratch. They really wanted to know how to make good cakes from scratch. And the recipes I use for bread making and cake making are recipes that I have been using for years, that I will pass down from my grandmother and my mother-in-law and my stepmom, who was wonderful cooks. I've been cooking since I was young. My grandmother, who I mentioned in my bio, Lily L. Stedman, who I was named after, she owned a restaurant, Lil's Restaurant, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on 3rd and North Avenue, or Martin Luther King Drive and North Avenue, for over 30 years. And she was a wonderful cook. And I remember her rolling out her delicious chicken and dumplings with a Coke bottle. And I make those chicken and dumplings today for my family. I don't use a Coke bottle. I use a rolling pin, but, she worked with what she had back then. So, and my stepmom, Willie Doris Swift, she made her living working in a restaurant, taking care of 8 kids. And when she took me in, that made 9. And she was a wonderful cook, and she had delicious recipes. And I would just sit in the kitchen and watch her cook because I really enjoyed her cooking and her techniques, and they were simple and easy. And everything my mom, Doris, produced was delicious. And thinking about it, my Aunt Erie, in Milwaukee, she was an excellent cook. My Aunt Erie had 8 kids, and I would visit her house on a regular basis. And my Aunt Erie was a fisher, and she would go fishing, and she would catch bluegills and crappies, if I'm not mistaken. And she would bring them home, and she would, skin her fish and cook hot water cornbread and other delicious treats. My Aunt Erie could take a potato and cook it 1,000 ways. So I learned a lot from her. So I come from a long line of wonderful cooks and bakers, old school style. And that's why I do it today. So the breads, the cakes, the cookies, the pies, the cheesecakes, all of that has been passed down from generations gone by, and now I'm teaching those things to my daughter, and to pass that history and that organic, whole, from scratch cooking. So if you take a providing resources for emergency preparedness workshop, you will find that the recipes I use are easy. They're simple. Or if you watch a YouTube video, you will find that most of the ingredients are things you already have in your house. The recipes are simple. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I'm not asking you to go out and find something that is not common in most everyday grocery stores. And most of the stuff you have in your pantry, you just don't realize how simple it is to use in your everyday cooking, because a lot of these corporations have convinced us that the only way you can make a decent cake is to buy a box of cake mix. You don't have to buy a box of cake mix. If you already have flour, sugar in your house, butter, baking powder and baking soda, and some eggs, you can make a delicious moist cake. So that's the history behind providing resources for emergency preparedness. And I hope that this answers your questions that I constantly receive via email of how I got started in the emergency preparedness field. So that's how I got started. And I want to thank you all for watching another Providing Resources for Emergency Preparedness YouTube video. And visit the website, www.providingresources.com, and continue to send me your questions. I love your questions, and I will always do a email response or a video response if it's a frequent question. So thanks for watching, and have a blessed day. And I hope that the information on the Providing Resources for Emergency Preparedness website is a blessing and helpful to you and your family emergency preparedness planning. Have a blessed day.